Hello and welcome to the Palsy Podcast with me, Ciaran Fitzgerald. I'm a playwright, screenwriter, and podcaster from South Wales. And seeing as March is Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month, to mark it, I've decided to interview interesting people who have cerebral palsy from Wales and beyond every day in March. If you like this episode, please stay tuned for more throughout the month and like and share. Now enjoy this episode of the Palsy Podcast. Hello and welcome to episode 18 of the Palsy Podcast with me, Ciaran Fitzgerald. We're over halfway through and start to feel more confident that I can actually complete this. So for those of you who may be just tuning in for the first time, this is the Palsy Podcast. And in the UK, March is Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month. So every day in March, I'm going to be interviewing someone interesting who has CP, learning about their life experience. Sometimes people I don't know, but sometimes friends of mine, like my guest today, Ricky Smith. Hi, Ricky. How are you doing, mate?
Hi, mate. Okay. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for doing this. Really good to speak to you. Like, I'm gonna open it up with like the first question I normally ask everyone who comes on.
Okay.
Like, what was your experience growing up with CP, and was there a moment where you first felt different to
Well,
other people?
okay. Well, as you know, I was born with CP. I think I was diagnosed fairly early on, and I grew up with it. Firstly, it was completely normal for me because I was born with it. I didn't know any different.
Mm,
It's just how I live my life. It's just how it was. But when I when I first realized that I was different, because I grew up with an older brother who's only 11 months older than me,
right.
uh, he is able-bodied. He didn't grow up with a disability like I did, and he was able to do things physically. He was able to climb fences, climb trees. He was a lot stronger and faster than I was, and that's when I thought, yeah, something is different here compared to. Even though I tried, I
Mm.
wasn't, I wasn't as strong and as fast as he was, and he was able to do things a lot more efficiently than I was, should we say? So that's when I first noticed it. Yeah.
Did you find it frustrating that not being able to keep up with him and wanting to do the things that he was doing? Because we're going to talk about later, you're a very sporty guy. So was it frustrating that you couldn't keep up with your brother and maybe your mates?
Yeah, definitely. I remember early on, particularly, I remember my mother telling me when I was really, really small, maybe two, three. I saw my mother uh, said to me that whether I knew something was different, and I used to get incredibly frustrated, and I would take it out to myself. I would be, as a toddler, really. I'd be sort of get frustrated easily. I would hit the floor. She said that was one particular thing with my. I'd bust the floor on my hand or my head because I'd get frustrated. I couldn't do what he was doing and things like that. So I definitely did get, and I remember getting frustrated because I couldn't do
Mm.
the same things in the same way that my brother was doing it. Yeah, I can definitely remember that early on in my life. Yeah.
And like, what was school like for you? Because you went to a special school for the early part of primary school. Like I know you quite well. You're very bright, but so was that the done thing in those days? That if you were disabled, you went to a special needs school. Oh,
Yeah, I think so. In my case, you're talking. I was born 83, so this would have been mid late 80s. Maybe I was in a special needs school. I
right,
think I transferred over in 91 to a mainstream school.
right.
So back then, I think it was the done thing. to go to a special needs school, and uh, where my with the cerebral palsy, obviously it affected me physically, but intellectually, I was
Yeah,
quite smart. I was at
yeah.
least on the same level as my brother who was in a mainstream school.
And like, did you find it difficult in special school because you were maybe a bit, you had that intelligence, you didn't have a learning disability? Did you feel I don't belong here kind of thing?
At times, yeah, and I made some great friends and some great memories there, and I did enjoy my time there. But I was definitely intellectually probably ahead of some of them in the
Mm,
class at the time, and I used to get frustrated because I wasn't getting stimulated too much,
mm,
maybe. But yeah, I was very young, and I remember. I had a good overall experience there. I remember things like art competitions, writing competitions we used
mm.
to do. The sports days were always fun because I was always, you know, I was either winning or coming second. So
And,
I had
and
good memories there too.
where did that love of sports start then? Was that a thing from childhood that you always liked being
Yeah,
active, being sporty? Yeah.
yeah. Yes, yes. My family, my uncles, my cousins, older than me, obviously, were all sport mad. There was always sport on the TV. Someone was always doing something. It was just a sports mad household, really. Uncles,
Mm,
aunties, cousins, everybody was the same way. And that's how, because like I remember as a child going to my nan's house. My nan's house was like my nan and grandpa's actually was
mm.
like the central hub, so everyone used to go there, and you would always have horse racing on, football, snooker, tennis, you name it, it was on. Like, and that's what I remember growing up.
That's amazing to be around that, and then we're gonna talk about all the different sports you've done later in this episode. But back to school maybe for a minute, like then going into the mainstream environment in primary and then secondary. What was that like? What were you good at? What did you enjoy?
Okay, yeah, I can remember it clear as day in my mind. The first day I went to the local primary school, I can remember it clear now. And my brother attended there. The local kid, my brother's mates. I didn't have too many mates locally at that time because I didn't go to the local school.
Mm,
And so I knew my brother was there, so I was excited for that. He was older than me, so he was going to look after me. His mates said they were going to look after me. So I was nervous and, well, not so much nervous, apprehensive because it's a new thing and you don't know anybody in the class and things like that.
mm,
So I was apprehensive going, but I was excited at the same time because I was going to the same school as my brother. And that
yeah.
was it for me. I was only a child, right? And I just couldn't wait to be on the yard with my brother, and that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That feeling, oh, you're gonna be with everyone else, you're gonna be part of something. Must
yeah,
have
yeah.
been an amazing feeling. Um,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
and like, what were you good at in school? What did you enjoy? What subjects?
Look, junior school time, I pretty much enjoyed it all because if because I was able to create my own friends
Mm,
then. I had my own friendship groups, and I pretty much chucked myself into the school. I was involved in everything. I liked pretty much all the subjects. My teachers were really good. So for me, I had a pretty positive experience. I enjoyed I enjoyed writing. I enjoyed creative writing. I enjoyed
yeah.
art. I enjoyed sport. I pretty much had a pretty good experience. As I said, I was able to gain long-lasting friendships from
Mm.
those experiences, that type of thing. So yeah, overall, it's pretty good.
And did that carry over into comp then? Like, was comp a bit different? Did you experience any bullying or anything like that?
Comprehensive was different for me purely because of the scale. There was more people there.
Mm,
I was older at that time. Uh, and it was more difficult for me to adapt early on. I had some problems early on. Year 7 particularly was pretty rough. Um, but after that, I was okay. I was okay. I still had the same friends. I made a few more friends. I'm very lucky in that regard that I had that friendship group and that support, and that
How
is.
how how important was that in terms of supporting you, people who had your back, good mates that you could rely on for stuff like that?
Ah,
Uh,
ah, crucial, absolutely crucial for me in my experiences, because I was very, very lucky because I have close friendships. I was able to maintain close friendships, and those mates, they got me through really during the tough times as well.
mm,
And I'm very lucky in that regard, because I know that a lot of disabled people do
mm.
not have those same experiences that I had, and feel isolated and feel lonely and not able to get out to make friends and stuff. So I feel very, very fortunate in that regard.
Absolutely, I feel the same. I feel really lucky that I've got a good circle of friends, got a good support network. And then was it after school, straight after school, that you decided to go into youth work, or was that later on?
Later on that. So I left school in 99. I done my GCSEs. I done okay. I done okay. I had enough to get in college, but what I didn't mention to you previously, when I was in comprehensive, what was difficult for me in comprehensive, I missed a lot of time through illness.
Was that related to your CP?
Yeah, yeah. I had a tendon lengthening operation when I was just turned 13, and that meant I missed about 18 months worth of school,
Oh, okay.
because I had to, I was in a wheelchair at that point. I had to learn to walk again and stuff like that. And that was pretty tough, because I would have work sent home. I was missing my school life. I was missing that social thing.
Yeah.
Although I must say, friends and family during that period, my close friends, they used to come and visit me. They used to come and see I was all right. So in that sense, I was okay, but I did struggle during that period for about 2 years, and I missed a lot of school. And I think that I never got it back, if that makes sense. I never quite caught up.
Did you feel then that when you went back that you were behind academically, like everyone had moved on and you were still where you were 2 years previously?
Yes, I definitely found that, because when I went back, when I was in school, I was in uh, top sets 1, 2,
Mm,
and when I went back, they dropped all my sets where I was in the lower sets all of a sudden, and
mm,
I was thinking, "Whoa, what's going on here?" Because, but when I was coming back, the standard of the work was much higher
mm.
than when I left, and it was hard for me to try and catch up then. And I don't think I ever really did at that time.
So
It,
like after like were you like disappointed with your GCSEs? Did you go on to college and then university, or because you missed that much time, was that difficult for you?
Yeah, yeah. I was fortunate. I did get enough to get. I'd done a national diploma in sports studies in Merthyr. I was
Mm,
fortunate enough to get onto there, but through illness again, I was unable to complete the end of that. So I
right.
never actually completed it in the end. There was one or two modules missing, but in terms of that as well, okay, the illness part is, you know, I didn't. That was awful again for me. But I go back to this point of social circle. I made friends, which I still talk to this day,
Mm.
and it was a valuable experience. And up until again illness had struck.
And was that frustrating for you wanting to do all the stuff but being held back by illnesses, by the effects of your disability?
Yeah, yeah, definitely, because you you sort of, well, I did anyway. I mapped out a plan in my head, right? I want to do
Mm,
this, I want to do that. Like when I was younger, I wanted to go down the coaching route, but I realized that that was almost impossible because of my physical limitations. So yeah, I found that very frustrating, the, what I learned to do then was I had to try and find a new path and try and find a new way. Okay, I knew I wanted to be involved in sport in
yeah.
some capacity, but it was how am I going to be involved in sport? And it was navigating those pathways, you know.
So how did you do that? How did you, and that must have taken determination as well to go, no, I want a career within sport. So how
Yeah.
did you then do that with these setbacks that you have?
Okay. Just a bit of background before I got onto the pathway of sport that I'm on now. I did some youth work before I went to uni
Mm,
in 2013. I think I was 30 when I went originally, and I was doing some youth work just before, and I'd always in the back of my mind gone, I'd love to do a degree because I'd seen my mates do degrees and doing really well and, you
yeah.
know, loving life and that type of thing. And I thought, I'd love to have a go at that if I can. And obviously, I knew about the mature student route. And I thought, well, I'm old enough now because I turned 30. And I thought, I'm just going to apply to the University
Mm,
of South Wales. And I thought, oh, I'm never going to, I'm never going to get in, but I'm going to apply anyway.
right.
And, and I was fortunate enough. I found out that there was uh, a branch of the University of South Wales in Merthyr College, which is fairly local to me.
Okay.
So I did my business diploma there. It was, bloody hell, I forgot the name, you know. It was a 2 year diploma, and then I ended up doing the top up then to get my full degree. But I done it in the college in Merthyr, you know.
Was that a feeling of achievement, having not been able to go to uni in the years previous to that? Uh,
Yeah, massively because I'd always wanted to do it secretly. I'd always fancied having a go because as a child and stuff, I loved learning. I loved learning new
yeah.
stuff. I was always curious. I wanted to know things, and I don't think I've ever really changed. So for me to want to get on to the course in the beginning was an achievement. But then to complete it 3 years later, I it's one of the best things that I ever
Mm.
did, and it opened a lot of doors for me. Then you know,
And then, like, I'm gonna go back to my questions here. Like, I'm gonna go back a little bit. Like, so with the youth work you're doing, like, you were supporting young people, supporting disabled young people. Like, how did your own lived experience of having CP feed into that, and did that help you in the job that you
yeah,
were doing?
yeah. It wasn't a disability specific youth work. It was just
Right.
a youth club that was fairly local to me.
Okay.
So they were just children living locally, you know, on the local estates and stuff. So there wasn't, not that I can remember. I can't remember a child with a disability there, interestingly, but yeah, it was just in a local youth centre. I started volunteering in a place called Forsythia Youth Centre. It's not there anymore, sadly, but I started volunteering there, and it just went from there. And then I progressed to uni then. But those, I think, I think what was interesting was I was the only one adult there with a disability, or at least a visible
Yeah,
disability
yeah,
anyway.
yeah. And I
And
think for me, when I was little, I never saw any adults with CP. I never saw that. So did you feel that you were a bit of a role model, maybe, for the young people that you were working with? Did you
I,
try to be that?
um, no, really, it wasn't something that I particularly uh, thought about. Really, I just wanted to go in and to try and do a good job. I just
Mm,
wanted to just go in with these young people. A lot of these young people uh, came from like disadvantaged backgrounds, parents out of work, maybe
Mm,
family with drug issues, depression, drink problems, whatever. And I just wanted to go in and try and do a good job while I was
yeah,
there. And
yeah.
that's all I thought
And
about, really.
did you feel that you made a difference, that you had a positive impact on the
Well,
young people?
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. Like I said, I always wanted to do a good job. And I tell you what was interesting about it, as I mentioned, I was the only one with a physical disability
Mm,
in the whole building, really. And uh, some of the children, as I was new there, were quite weary of it and didn't know how to approach it. But by the end, a lot of these children, because we got to know each other, a lot of these children would come across, they would ask me questions, what they got, how did it happen?
yeah, yeah,
Just things like, does it hurt? The
yeah.
things you expect children to ask you. And to be fair, once I sat down with these children or these young people, once I explained that about my disability, how it affects me, answered the questions they had, they were pretty open and they were pretty cool about it. I
I
was just
think
one of them then.
I think kids are better at understanding it, comprehending it, and getting on with it than most adults are sometimes. I was I think parents are sometimes a bit worried for their kids to ask any questions. But for me,
Yeah,
I know people are different, but I don't mind talking about it. I don't mind saying, oh, this is what it is. I think then that helps the child understand, oh, this is what it is. There's nothing to be scared of. Just opening that conversation up early on.
yeah, of course. And I've definitely experienced that myself. I got an example. I was on holiday a couple of years ago in
Yeah.
Egypt, I was at the time. And I was in the swimming pool. See, like a swim up bar. I can't swim, but I just walked to this bar and I sat on the stool in this
Oh
swimming pool.
yeah.
And there was a group of British people that we got friendly with. So it was like a group of us all in this pool. And obviously there was children there. And there was this one boy, but he'd only ever seen me in the pool. So he'd
Yeah.
never actually seen me walk or anything like that. Well, one day I was out to the pool walking around the hotel and he goes, all right, sir. I said, yeah, you okay, bud? And he goes, what's the matter with your leg, mate? Simply like that. And there was no malice in it. It was like,
No, no,
speak
exactly.
this way. He just genuinely wanted
Yeah.
to know. So I just goes, it's just cerebral palsy. That's all, but it just makes my leg go a bit funny. That's all I
Yeah.
said to him.
And
He
that's
went,
the best way to do it, I think, in a light-hearted way, so that they understand and don't feel bad about it, I think.
yeah, yeah, that's cool. And once I explained to him those simple things, I said, oh, it just makes my leg go a bit funny. That's all. I just walk a bit slower than you do. And he went, that's cool though. And that was it.
Easy,
Oh,
simple as like. Oh,
yeah,
that's a really lovely story, Ricky. Thanks for sharing that.
yeah, no
Um,
worries.
I want to talk about football because you played disability football competitively. Like, who did you play for? Like, what was that experience like when you were younger? Because you had some pretty big achievements in
Yeah,
disability
yeah,
football,
yeah, yeah. I played for Newport Dragons. I did.
right?
Yeah, and they were at the time were the closest. I know there's a few more locally now, but they were the closest disability team available to me at the time.
So, how did you find the Newport Dragons? How did you get involved with them? How old were you when did that start? Uh,
Well, I was always an active child. Okay, I played many sports with my mates, just recreationally and things like that as well. So I played tennis. We'd run about the streets, football, rugby, anything. We play anything, right? But as I got a little bit older, probably into my early 20s, I realized that my mates were too big and too strong for me at that point. They had
mm,
matured into men, strong men, and local football, able-bodied football anyway, was too much of a risk for me to play. So I
yeah.
realized for me to continue to play then, I would have to play disability football.
Mm.
And that's where I went to the Newport Dragons then, and I had I had a couple of seasons down there with them, and that was brilliant. That was we was an excellent team. It was pan disability. It was so it was physical disabilities and mental disabilities as well in one team.
And like, was it small-sided games? Was it, what was, for people who don't know, how did it work? Was there a league? What was the kind of format of it?
Okay. Well, we didn't play so much in a league. It was more competition based. It was so
Mm,
you'd have football festivals. So there may be four or five teams or eight teams in
yeah.
one day, and you could play small sided games. You could play like five sides if you was
Mm,
playing a number of games. Eight side would be the norm that we would
mm.
play. But now and again, we'd have friendlies where it'd be full pitch and 11 aside as well. But
Oh,
eight aside would be the norm mostly, and smaller pitches.
what position did you play?
Well, I used to think of myself as a bit of a forward, but
Oh
but
yeah.
I ended up back in midfield because I soon realised that with a pan disability, some of these guys with mental disabilities, with very low physical limitations, they would be the forward players or the wingers or the flyers.
Mm.
It'd be my job then just to get the ball through the gaps and give them the ball.
How did you, like, when you came up against people who maybe were learning disabled but were very physically strong and quick? How did you like adapt your game to deal with that?
Yeah, it was more for me about using my football intelligence so that I learned along the way. So it could be little things like not getting too close, making sure my distances were correct, making sure my first touch was good, making sure my body was facing the right way, making sure that my head was on a swivel so that I knew my surroundings, and those type of things helped me along the way.
Absolutely. And like you did, I think we've had a conversation before about this. Didn't you have a trial for the Welsh side?
Yeah, I did indeed a Welsh development team, which was in Cardiff, which was a very good, enjoyable thing. But at that time, there was a bad time in my life because I was 15 and I just lost both my grandparents around that time.
Oh, right.
So then I didn't really pursue it because I went into because I was very close to my grandparents. They were, as I said previously, their house was like the central hub. I was always there. I loved them
Mm,
dearly. When I lost them, I went into a bit of depression maybe,
mm.
and I didn't pursue it as much as I should have done really.
Do you think that, like, certainly I know when I've had bad times when I felt low, like sport and physical activity has really helped me get out of that and switch on to something else. Has that helped you when you've gone through maybe bad times or feelings of negativity? Eh,
Yeah, yes, definitely, definitely. I say to my partner now, I've been in a relationship with almost 4 years, and I say to my partner now, in my early 20s,
Mm,
when I didn't have a lot going on in life. And I didn't know at the time that I was depressed. I just thought I was physically ill because of the manifestation of the depression uh, manifested itself in what I thought was physical illness. I thought I was physically ill. And I remember going through a depression in my early to mid 20s. And I thought, right, one day I've got to sort this out. And how it started for me was joining the gym.
mm.
And I joined the gym, and slowly but surely, I started to get fitter. I started to get stronger. I started to feel better about myself. People started to notice. I started getting more confident. And all those things rolled into what it became. And I started to pull myself out. So I do believe that sport and physical fitness can help hell of a lot for anybody.
I really believe that. And I've since, look, we both play tennis together. Since I've been playing tennis with Tony, my mental health has improved dramatically, and being active, being with people who get it, like, has really helped me. So I'm really glad that it's the same case with you as well. Oh,
Definitely, and as you say, with the tennis, it helps. Like I knew nobody going into the tennis club, but being around a supportive group of people
mm.
who are similar to you and got similar experiences to you, who you can chat with on a level, definitely helps. Yeah.
And like keeping on the subject of sport, like you've also represented Wales internationally in darts. So how did you start playing darts? Where did that come from? And how did you
Well,
get picked to represent Wales?
okay. Well, darts for me and my family was massive. Okay, like
Mm.
I had my grandparent was a good dart player. My uncle was a very good dart player. Even my mother can throw a dart. Right. We we've got family who've played darts internationally and things like that in the past. So dart has always been big in my family. But I was never. I didn't mind watching it, but I was never a huge fan really.
Right.
And one day, my mate found something online called the British Disability Darts Association, the BDDA, and he said, "Oh, Rick," he said, "I found this." He said, "You fancy a crack or what?" And I and I thought, oh yeah, let's go and have a go. Let's go and have. It looked like a bit of a jolly, a bit of a weekend away, a
Yeah, yeah.
couple of beers, throw a couple of darts, and I
Yeah.
I never. I never really took it seriously, and I got there, and I realized that this was a serious thing with some excellent players who just happened to have disabilities.
Yeah.
And I
So
thought,
were you a bit like, oh, what have I walked into here? I haven't trained for this.
definitely, so, some of the players there are disability or not disability, are outstanding players regardless, right? And I
Mm.
walked in and I thought, Jesus Christ, these guys are going to batter me now. And so I thought, right, I better up my game. Yeah, I started practicing in between tournaments, which I never did. I was just a fun player, just played for fun, and win or
Yeah.
lost, I weren't bothered. But I started to practice and I started to get a little bit better and a little bit more confident. These players who were hammering me before, suddenly I'm holding my own. Suddenly
Mm.
I'm winning a leg or winning two, and I'm winning a match, and I'm winning another one. And it starts to snowball from there.
Hmm.
And and then and then ultimately then it became I was doing okay. And one of the Welsh selectors just emailed me or rang me or something and said, "Oh, do you fancy joining us in a four-man team for
Right.
Wales?"
Wow. So what was
And
that like home nations or World Cup? What was the competition there? Yeah.
the, the competition there, I think the first one, this was during COVID time, so in the end we didn't go, but there was there was a competition abroad, and then I think there was talk of a home internationals there was,
Mm.
but it was during COVID then. See, so we
Oh,
ended up
never.
we didn't go. So what we did in the lockdown, we used to play online tournaments. So
All
we
right.
we play them over Zoom or anything like that, any of these video platforms. Is there a Steam or something? I think we used to use. Is there something called Steam?
Steam, yeah. So how would that work then? So you would have a dartboard in your house, and how did it work on Steam or Zoom
Yeah.
or
It was fantastic. It was lockdown times. It was, and
yeah.
what it was, as you said there, I'd have a board in my house with a camera facing the board. My
Okay.
opponent, my opponent would do the same, and then you'd have another guy then who would referee,
Oh wow.
and we would play each other online. And I was fortunate enough to play for a Celtic Nations team against England
Oh wow.
online.
Online.
Yeah, we was picked to do that as a bit of fun, like. And yeah, that was fantastic. And I lost mine, so I'm not happy about
Do you
that.
do you still play?
No, when lockdown finished, I stopped playing altogether.
Oh, is it? Well,
Yeah, yeah.
do you think you might pick it back up at some point?
Well, I still got mates in now say, "Oh, come and have a game, come and do this." But I don't know. I'm loving my tennis. I want to pursue the tennis. I do.
It's really a great community, the tennis club, isn't it? Everyone, you do know well as well. Moving the chair, like for people who maybe don't know you, you're not a wheelchair user. You don't use your chair day to day, but you play tennis in a wheelchair. That must be a new challenge as well, trying to work all that out and the movements and stuff. Uh,
Yeah, definitely. Well, recently in the last 6 months, I have bought my own wheelchair for use outside the house, but I don't
right.
use it in the house day to day. But yeah, as you say, the challenge of moving that chair and moving it in the right way and moving it efficiently is a whole different ball game. Whole different
And
ball game.
I was gonna ask you about something you might have just touched on. Like, have you noticed any change in your CP as you've got older, and how has that maybe affected you? Yeah.
Oh, definitely is great question. Actually, definitely because when I was younger, I was very active. I was fit. I could run, jump. Didn't really feel any pain. Never got tired. I think it was all the sport and like all the activities I used to get up to when I was young. I was fairly able. Fairly high
Mm,
functioning. But as I've got older, I'm 42 now, 43 in July. I've definitely seen a slowdown in my body and how my body reacts. Like, for example, I get tired now. Like I said, I use a wheelchair outside, which I never have done before
mm.
for like longer periods and things like that. Um, I get a lot of pain. My pain I suffer through the day is a lot higher than what it used to be. I get tired very quickly.
Do you think there needs to be more availability for stuff like physio and treatment for adults with CP?
Great question. I was talking about this in particular the other night, and in my own experience, when I was before I was 16, so pre-16, okay, from the age of probably about well, from when I was born to until I was 16, there was a lot of help. I had hydrotherapy, physio sessions. I'd have a physio to the house, and then when I turned 16, all that was uh, thrown away. Well, not thrown
Mm,
away, but taken away. It
yeah.
went from it went from maybe a weekly session or a twice monthly session and a hydrotherapy session to nothing. Now, as an adult, my experience is uh, there is still physios out there available on the NHS, but uh, we need to find those ourselves, and that's how it's gone for me.
Mm.
Where I've needed it, I've had to go and find it. So I'd go through a GP or a health professional who would then refer me on to a physio.
But that's a lot of work for you to do yourself. And do you find with some physios, like if they don't see an improvement, if it's just maintenance stuff, they maybe don't want to treat you or don't want to like engage with, or they don't know how to treat adults with CP.
Yeah. Well, I've had varying experiences on that. I've had some who are really good, and when I talk to them, they take it on board and they're willing to learn and listen. And then I've had others who've just gone where I've gone, for example, I'm suffering from this, that, the other, and they
Mm.
just go, "Oh yeah, that's just your CP, that is." And I go, "No, this is something that's new. This isn't
Mm.
my CP. This is something." But they some are too ready to write it off as my CP.
Yeah, I understand. And that must be so frustrating. So I think there definitely needs to be more research, more services for adults with CP. and
definitely.
any additional physio, like it's a lifelong condition, and I don't think it's recognized as that.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
want to talk about what you're doing now, your job. You're working in sports development alongside Merthyr Council. So,
Yeah.
what does your role involve?
My role, I do apologize, but I think I've only got less than 10% on my tablet. But yeah, I'm working alongside Merthyr Council and RCT now as a referrals officer, and my role is to help facilitate opportunities for disabled people in those areas get involved and active in sport.
So, how do you do that? And like, have you created opportunities for people? Oh,
Yeah. So in my role, I'm a I'm almost customer facing. I work from home
yeah.
now. It's only part time it is, but in my role, I'm the one that is the bridge between the clubs, centres, and the activities, and the family. So
Right.
I would be the one to make the phone calls to the families, provide information via the sports development department, and then set them up with potentially suitable opportunities. Then, so it could be someone who's interested in football, and we send them then to the local disability football team if
Mm.
we have one in that area.
And like, if there are people listening or watching this that want to get involved in sport that are living in the Merthyr area, how do they do that? How do they get in touch with you?
Well,
Yeah.
there's a number of ways they can contact us. They can contact the Merthyr Council. There's a website available online, and there's links for disability sport there. Or they can message me via my email, Ricky Snedden DSM at hold on, it's Ricky Snedden DSM at gmail.com.
Fantastic. I'll ask you to put that in the chat at the end of this call, and I'll put it in the description of the podcast when it goes out. Last question for you, Ricky, before your tablet dies a death. What is one thing that you wish people knew about cerebral palsy?
I wish that great question. No two cases are the same, and it is just a physical manifestation of a brain injury, and intellectually we are as able as
Mm.
anybody else. So give us that respect. That'd be the one thing that I wish people would know.
Because for me, like so many people, because of my speech, they talk to me as if like I don't have that understanding, and it gets so frustrating. And you see it as well with Adam, who plays tennis. There's like
Yeah,
if you take the time to talk to us, we can have a conversation with you, and just talk to us like normal people, really.
yeah, yeah. That's right. I remember having an experience of that as a child where someone was asking my mother through me whether I enjoyed school, and I stood there, and
Yeah,
my mother just went, "Ask him." He stood
ask
there.
him.
He
Yeah.
can't talk. Yeah,
It's so frustrating, but hopefully this podcast will help show people there are some really cool people with CP out there doing really cool things just the same as anybody else, and that's what I want to achieve with it, really. But thank
yeah.
you so much for your time today, Ricky. It's been lovely talking to you.
No, cheers, bud. Thank you for having me on. I really enjoyed it. Cheers, bud.
Thank you so much, and please stay tuned for the next episode of the Palsy Podcast, where I'll be talking to actor Lizzie Annis. Also coming up is theatre director John Wilkinson. So please like, share, subscribe on all podcast platforms, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. And if you've got any questions, please send them over. I'd love to ask them to some of my future guests. So these are going up every day in March. So I'll see you on the next episode. But for now, it's goodbye from me and goodbye from Ricky.
Nice
Goodbye.
one, bud. Cheers. Ta, bud.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Palsy Podcast with me, Ciaran Fitzgerald. I want to thank my guests for joining me, and I hope that you'll stay tuned for the next episode and more throughout March. Thank you.